Hi, friends. In today's episode, episode number 9 of our production control series, we will be covering some of the important concepts related to costing in production order. So, this is going to be a very important video. And if you are watching this series right from the beginning, I'm sure you must be aware that we have already covered some of the important concepts in the production control module. But but I would say without knowing the costing technique and how the cost gets assigned to your BOM or the raw material item and the route, this is not going to add real value. This complete series, I would say, will not add real value in order production or in order to understand the entire production control process, right? So so I'll strongly recommend you to pay attention to each and every concept which we discuss, so that it will be really helpful in order to assign the appropriate costing techniques for your production order whenever you try it out on your own. So we are in episode number 9, and like I said, we have already covered 8 episodes. In all our previous episodes, we have completed. In the previous episode, we have episode number 8. We completed the execution of the production order, and we in that execution while completing the execution of the production order, we found the estimation cost and the realized cost getting captured in the production order. But we never discussed in the previous all the previous 8 episodes how this cost gets captured in the production order. How what is the logic of assigning the cost to the BOM and the route. So we have not discussed about the same, so that's what we are going to discuss in this episode number 9. So primarily the agenda will be, we will be covering four major topics. First, we will be discussing about the calculation groups. Next, we will be talking about the cost categories. Cost categories, already we had a very high level discussion when we were discussing about the configuration required for route. And also in this video, we will see what exactly cost categories are. And then we'll discuss about the cost groups and how to create cost groups and assign it in the cost categories. And then we'll also see the basic of cost inversions, right? So let's get into this. First of all, what is a calculation group? A calculation group contains policies for cost price model, sales price model, and the warning checklist. So basically, this is acting as a setup which helps you to define the policy for your cost price. So anyway, we will also discuss this in the D365 screen. But first of all, you need to understand what is the basic definition of the calculation group. So the calculation setting from the calculation group are used as default values on the BOM calculation. So when we actually did the estimation of the production order, the whatever the calculation group setup which we have against the item, which is primarily used to in order to do the BOM calculations, right? So the important point here is the system first looks for calculation group setup on the release product details page. So against each and every item, which means we will have a calculation group need to be tagged. So if you have created a raw material item, just make sure that you have a calculation group tagged to the release product item. And if it is not tagged, or else you need to have the calculation group tagged to the parameter at the parameter level. So let's quickly get into the system. So so for creating the calculation group, first of all, let me open the release product, so that you should know where you need to tag the calculation group. The release products. So we have the raw materials, three raw materials which we created right from the beginning of the series for RM, button, fabric, and thread. So let me open fabric. So under each and every item, if you navigate to engineer first tab, um, just scroll down and you have a manage inventory and then engineer first tab. So here there is an option called, we actually discussed about the flushing principle, release to arrows and production type when we were discussing about the configuration, but we didn't discuss about the calculation group. So the calculation group need to be assigned at the item level. So first, system checks for the calculation group at the item level. If not, in the inventory and warehouse management, if you go to inventory management module and inventory and warehouse management parameter, and then here it takes times to load. If you go to bill of materials, now this is for circularity. mm, I think is it in the general tab? um, so here also you can configure the calculation group, not in journals, inventory accounting. Yeah. So under inventory accounting, you have the calculation group. So here also you can configure the calculation group. So if the system does not find a calculation group in the item, then it will try to look for the calculation group which is assigned in the inventory and warehouse management parameter. So if not, then you will not be able to see the cost against the item. So it will be zero whenever you estimate the production order. Your cost will be actually zero against the raw materials. So calculation group is specifically used to define the cost for your raw materials in BOM, that is the materials available in the BOM, and it is not used for your route or operations. Okay, so let me go back. So this is the calculation group which is standard. So this is the calculation group which is created standard. So let us get into this form. So first of all, you need to give a calculation group ID and a name as per your convenience. Then, like we discussed in the presentation, so we need to define the policies for the cost price model and the sales price model and a warning checklist. So whether you want the system to throw a warning or not. So if the cost price is not defined, then you want to throw at no bomb or route or resources or consumption. When you want the system to throw a error message if there are no cost or no consumption, when you actually want to throw an error message. And so this is what, so a warning message, sorry, this is not a error message, this is a warning message. A warning message will be triggered. So first, cost price model. Cost under cost price model, it can primarily happen through four techniques. So whether you want to use the item cost price, the cost price available in your release products, or do you want to use the item purchase price? What is the item's latest purchase price, based on which do you want to use the same price in your cost calculations? So if I want to make it very clear, let me open the production order in another tab which we created in our previous episode. In the production control, production orders, all production orders. And so this is the production order which we created in our previous episode 220. So if I go to view calculation details and click on overview costing, so you can see here, so it has basically fetched the calculation group STD, and based on which it has given us the cost for the 5 quantity. So the cost is actually 105, that is for 10 quantity, but 52.50 is for the release cost for the 5 quantity, right? So this is the standard calculation group which was actually used for fabric. So it has picked the item cost price. So let's go back and check the item cost price. So item cost price, we should find it under purchase tab. Yeah, so this is the item cost price, which is 10.50. So it has actually taken 10.50 multiplied by 10, which is 105, right? So I hope you got it right, got it now. So that is how, what is the price which the system has to pick. And you can provide alternate method also. Let's say if the system does not find a cost price model, what is the alternate cost price it has to pick? So we have given the inventory price, so the system will check for the item cost price, whether it is available or not. If the item cost price is not available, then it will try to pick the running average price from the inventory. So since we have item cost price, system has actually picked the item cost price from the system. But at the same time, even in the item cost price, you need to make sure that you have a activated cost price in the system also. So the managed cost, setup, item price. So here I have not created any item cost price activated version over here. You can also create an activated cost price in the system if you want. So here the price type is cost. So here, this is where the costing version comes into picture, but we will discuss about this later in this video. You can select a costing version, to which site this cost price is applicable, enter the price, whatever you want the system to fetch, and this is applicable for one quantity. Then you can save it. So after saving it, it will, the activate pending price is enabled. You can click on activate pending price. So the prices whatever is selected over will be activated, and the active prices will be available in the active prices section. So this will be the active price for the item, for if you plan for any financial transaction in the site number 2. So we'll also quickly discuss what is a costing version, right? So this is calculation group for you. So make sure that every RM item that is tagged to the BOM need to have a costing version. Sorry, calculate need to have a calculation group. So need to have a calculation. So without calculation group, you will not be able to see cost price over here. the realized estimated cost amount, cost per unit will not be available. So this part, otherwise here it will be zero, right? So make sure that you have a proper calculation group tagged to your raw material items. So next thing after calculation group is the cost categories. Cost categories apply to manufacturing environments that use routing. So they are assigned to operation resources and routing operations to define hourly cost. So this is what we did when we were configuring the route and the route group. So where we were trying to assign the cost categories. So cost categories, using the cost categories, system will try to fetch the hourly cost for completing a particular operation. So that's where we saw the setup time, process time, and the quantity based cost for each and every operation. Also, you can have a cost category at the production control parameter. In the parameter discussion, we actually talked about it. So let me go back to the T3 screen. So if you go back, if you go to, if you need to go to cost categories, all you need to do is go to production control, and then I'll just collapse all, go to setup, and then under resources, sorry, under roots, I think, yeah, under roots you have cost categories. So you can also create a shared category, whether the category has to be applicable to production or not, or for a project. So you need to create a category over here, and you need to define whether it can be used to production or not. So for example, we have already created a shared category for cutting. If you see, we have enabled it for production, so we are not going to use it for the project. And if you enable expense, yeah, expense type need to be tagged. But here now we are going to use the cost category, because in the cost category we need to tag the appropriate ledger accounts. So you can click on new, you can create a cost category, category id, and the category name, and the cost price can be set up by clicking on category setup under price. So in this price, actually you need to give the costing version also. This is what we will discuss. So here the price version for site 1 is 10, site 3 is 10. You can also create a costing version for the site number 2. So I'll just quickly try to create a costing version for site number 2 also. So if I create a for site number 2, let me keep it as 0.9.50. And you can also block this if you don't want the user to use this. So you can block this and just simply activate it. Price for cost category cutting was effective. Okay, fine. So this is already effective. So so let me go back. Mm, so the cost price now has changed to 9.50. So now you can see that using the cost categories, now this cost category will be assigned to your route. So this is the cost category, right? So when we actually created uh, the route groups, you can see we have the setup time and the runtime, and also the appropriate setup configurations are done. So this we discussed in the earlier episodes. Please do check out the same. And these cost categories, if we go to resource resource groups, I think we have actually used the resource groups in order to configure it. Let me go to the this is the resource group which we actually created. uh, Sewing cutting machine which we have configured. So this is the category which we have assigned: setup category cutting, and runtime category also cutting, which we actually used. So if you click on here, it will redirect to the same form. So you can see here the cost price whatever we have tagged will be picked by the system. And also you need to make sure that the appropriate ledger posting accounts are tagged in the account physical and account financial, right? So this cost categories are used to define the cost for the operations which you perform using the routes. And also make sure that we need to tag a cost group. So we'll quickly discuss about the cost group, but let's go back to the presentation. Before discussing about the cost group, first we need to understand the fundamental definition of cost group. So cost group provides the basis for segmenting and analyzing cost contributions in a manufactured items. So because in a manufacturing environment you will have a direct material cost or a direct manufacturing cost, outsourcing cost in case of subcontracting operations, or you will also have a indirect cost, or you may have some other cost which is not directly linked to your production or operations, but you also want to make sure that those costs are part of your production. So in those cases the cost group type plays a vital role. So if a cost group that is designated as direct material can be assigned to items. So we will quickly see what is a cost group type, which is the most important setup as far as the cost group is concerned, right? So in order to create a cost group, all you have to do is go to control module setup, and then under roots you have the cost group, right? So these are the cost groups which are already created in the system. So these cost groups can be assigned to your cost categories or related items. So first of all, let me click on new. So currently you can see all the options are enabled. Other than posting, you can see related items, related cost, and related indirect cost notes are enabled. So but these are actually linked based on the selection of the cost group. So let me select a new cost group as Q1. This is used for maybe I would say uh, um, maybe I'll keep it as P1. Sorry, P1, packing one. So this is a cost group which I want to use. And the moment I select direct material, then only the related items will be enabled, which means the direct material cost is directly linked to your items. When I select direct manufacturing, the cost group with cost group type direct manufacturing or linked to related cost categories. And the moment if I select indirect, it is going to be you will be able to view only the related indirect cost notes alone. So let me select direct materials and click on save. So you can see these two are disabled. So direct materials directly refers to the item cost. And then we have a behavior can be fixed cost or variable cost. But here, that's what I mentioned, the cost group that has a null value for behavior is treated as a variable cost. This is an important point to note. So if you have selected a null value here, then it is actually treated as a variable cost. So, and let's say for completing this particular operation, we are choosing a profit setting of standard. Then you can define a profit percentage. Let's say if I complete this particular operation, I need a profit of 5%. So that's how in the production order, even if you see here, in the managed cost calculation, we have profit percent of almost 10% in each of the operation. So this is actually picked from the standard profit settings which we have in the cost group. So let me go back. So first we need to understand cost group type, right? We didn't discuss about it. So we have the following types, which for which I have written a short description. So a cost group that is designated as direct material can be assigned to items, and a direct manufacturing cost group can be assigned to cost categories. So if you have, for example, if we have created this P1 as a direct material item, right? So if I go to cost categories, I will not be able to assign P1 in any of the cost categories. So if I click on this drop down, you can see here I'm just unable to view the P1 which we have actually created because we cannot assign it to the cost categories. So cost groups with direct manufacturing alone can be assigned it over here. If you look at L2, L3, L4, or L5, let's go back. So those cost groups will have the uh, L2, these will have the cost group type as direct manufacturing. You can see it here, right? So that's the reason we are able to view only those in the cost group type. And we cannot see if it is a direct material or a indirect cost, then we will not be able to view that in the cost categories. And you need to make sure that those cost categories are assigned, sorry, those cost groups are assigned in the cost categories, so that whenever this cost category is assigned to any of your root, then the appropriate cost or profit setting from the cost group will be taken, and the posting of the ledger account will happen based on the accounts tagged in the cost categories. So I know this may sound a little complex, but I always recommend you to watch this video again so that whatever I said to you makes absolute sense. So that's the purpose of cost groups. Last but not least, we have the costing versions. So costing versions, like I said, in order to activate the price, in order to create a new price and activate it, you need to make sure that you have a costing versions. The costing versions, like we said in the cost group, we have three. One is item price, cost category price, and indirect price. So this is for direct material and direct manufacturing, and this is for indirect cost. So you can have multiple versions. You can define a particular current physical period for the same. So by default, in if you are in USM of entity, you will be able to see the current physical and the next physical period. For each and every physical period, you can create a costing version. So the costing version basically helps you to contain the cost records about the items, cost categories. So all the costing records, whatever you do and update it, you will be able to view it. So now, if for example, for the current fiscal period, if I click on item price, there are no costing versions are available active. So okay, there are active costing version, there are a lot of costing records which are available. So you will be able to view all these costing records from the costing version page. And I'm not sure for the current fiscal, let's see whether is there any active cost price for the cost categories. There are no. So based on this, you will be able to view all the costing records which are available in the system. So costing version can contain a set of standard cost records or a set of planned cost records that are based on costing type that is assigned to the costing version. I know this definition sounds little confusing, but all you need to keep in mind is this costing version helps you to view the costing records available in the system, whichever is activated. You can also print the costing records with the respect to item price. You can also compare the item prices. So this is also possible when you use the costing versions. So you can also have multiple versions, and you can also block the costing versions if you want, and block for changes or block for activation. So if you want, you can do that. But do not worry about costing version, because just all you need to make sure that you assign a costing version whenever you create a cost group and create a cost price for the same. But otherwise, to summarize this particular video, I should say that the most important step is defining the calculation group. And once you define the calculation group, I'll go to the agenda. So calculation group is the important setup if you want the raw material to fetch the cost price for the items which are mentioned in the BOM. And we have cost categories, which from which actually the root operations fetches the prices. So whenever you, and if you don't define the cost categories, then the prices for the operations are not fetched. But the cost category, for each and every cost category, you need to make sure that you have a cost group, and a cost group type is assigned to back to cost category, so that the cost group type will guide you in fetching the appropriate prices and the profit settings, right? So I'll strongly recommend you to check out this video again, so that you get the absolute benefit of this particular episode about the costing technique. So also I will share the links related to this particular costing calculation groups and the costing group and costing categories in the description. Please do check out the same if you want to get further more information about the costing technique. So that brings us to the end of this episode, and in the next episode, episode number 10, we will cover about the production order analysis. What are the quick way to analyze a production order? And if you want to get regular updates, make sure that you follow my profile in LinkedIn, or if you're using YouTube, make sure that you subscribe to this channel, Sriram Sivashankar and D365 Talks. And I just made it very clear that I will continue to post videos and documents and articles related to Dynamics 365 and Microsoft going forward. So make sure that if you want to get regular updates, please do subscribe to this channel and share your thoughts in comment section. I'll be happy to hear from you. Thank you.